I think what they did really well is, even though you knew where the end destination was going to be, the journey that they took you on made it worthwhile, because it gives you something
Made it
that now
worthwhile? What?
wait
Did we watch the same
it,
fucking movie?
it gives you something that not many horror movies gives you nowadays, and that's the little quiet moments while you're sitting with these family, and you actually get to like soak in the tragedy that's actually occurring. Like
I
you're
knew that
made
you were gonna like this just because of the fucking family aspect. You're like,
no,
that's
no,
the kind
because
of dad I would be.
no,
Do you ask your
100%.
kids what am I thinking right now? What am I thinking?
No, they already know I'm thinking that. Come on, I don't need that help. Nothing soothes the soul like watching a family road trip movie. Because we're talking movies, we're talking Wolfman, starring Christopher Abbott and Julia Garner, directed by Lee Wennell. Chris, what am I thinking?
That mommy wants it to be over, and so did Chris. Hey, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of How Do You Like That Movie? We're going to be doing our first film of 2025, as in film that released in 2025. We're going to be talking about Wolfman. Scott, just let's get into this, baby.
Okay, so first, I would like you to go first.
What? Why?
Because
That's not how this works.
listen,
The
no, wait,
audience has an
shut
expectation.
the fuck up. Because this is one of the films I was looking forward to this year a lot, and so I want to allot you this first segment so you can say your little piece, and then we can then debate my review of this movie.
Okay, so I feel like I've already buried the lead as much as Scott hates that. What the fuck train wreck movie did I just watch? And this idea that this is a reboot of the 1941 The Wolfman with like Lon Chaney Jr. and stuff. Come on, just call this like Bad Wolfy Man or Bad Wolf Monster movie. Like this is some. The only thing that's good about this is there's some decent body horror at points and some prosthetics or like hair and makeup. Like the wolf creation was not bad. Outside of this fucking film, bad script, bad execution, overacting, shitty dialogue, no B storyline. So basically, you're just stuck with this thing for an hour and 43 minutes. So Scott and I are both working on written reviews because we may be writing for a local paper at some point. And basically, my general takeaway of this film was: don't waste your money seeing this kibble in theaters, or you'll be howling for a refund.
Why are you the way that you are?
I mean, I feel like I just encapsulated the whole fucking dog shit sandwich of this movie right off the bat. Do you want me to keep going, or how do you want to do this?
Okay, yeah. So I'll say a little piece right here, like a little history. Um, so if you've ever listened to this podcast, especially like in our first year when Chris was constantly praising Top Gun every episode, and the birth of the Tarantino drinking game. The birth of the Tarantino drinking game started, where his name got mentioned 4 or 5 times an episode. I would casually speak of my fondness of the 30s and 40s Universal monster movies. And there's been so many attempts for them to try and bring these to the forefront once more, as they were so prevalent back in when they first came out. I think we can both agree, like in the late 90s, early 2000s, like the first 2 Brandon Fraser mummy movies, did their job, kind of started bringing them back. I bet just the first 2. Would you agree or disagree?
Yeah, I mean the first 2 are great. The first one is fantastic. Like if that is like the Brandon Fraser Mummy, that first film is like a classic film now.
Yeah. Then you got, I would say, Coppola's Dracula movie, but it wasn't Universal. It was a Columbia film, but at least that kind of brought Dracula back, you would say, right?
Yep. Yeah. Again, yep. I think it was a great remake, or reintroduction of the Dracula character after kind of, it was the best readaptation of Dracula that had been done in a very, very long time. Absolutely. I agree with you.
Yeah. So 2014 happens, Marvel happens, and everybody wants their franchise, their Marvel universe. So, Universal starts with Dracula Untold, which, it's a good action movie, but it lacks anything in
Sorry,
terms
which
of
film?
Dracula Untold.
Oh, okay.
And then we'll just skip over Tom Cruise's Mummy movie.
Well, that movie, that's important though, because it is what starts to put the nails in the coffin of the Universal new introduction to the Universal cinematic universe around their monsters, right?
Well,
So you do need to talk about
it didn't start it. It literally drove a stake, buried it, cut it
chopped its
up,
head off.
chopped it up. It was grinded up. It was made into engine fuel for Top Gun 2, because that's why he was like, this was so bad, I gotta like fucking go back into a plane now. But yeah, but then Jason Blum starts getting involved, right? And then you got the amazing Invisible Man movie by the same director as this one, which I fucking love. And I believe when we did it, you fucking enjoyed the shit out of it too, right?
Which one?
Invisible Man.
No, I did not.
You
That's why I
didn't
was
like
like, no, that movie's fucking garbage.
that
It's got
movie's
some
fucking
interesting tension and some decent cinematography and stuff. But in general, I was like, this movie is fucking stupid, which is actually leans into like, maybe don't you, and I know why they use the same writer director, because that movie out of this cinematic universe is the one that made all the money.
right. Well, it's technically the start. Yeah. And then they have these offshoots. I don't know if you've seen them or not, but you got Abigail, which is like the rework of Dracula's daughter. Or did we do Abigail? But that one was kind
I
of
think so,
fun.
yeah, with the vampire one.
Yeah. And then you got fucking Last Voyage of the Demeter. And if you haven't watched that, I actually would fucking recommend it, because the elevator pitch of that movie is pretty much, you know, what if Dracula was in Ridley Scott's Alien? So it's just a fucking ship confined and just one thing like lurking and hiding.
Yeah,
Fucking
how'd that movie do, Scott?
well, it was praised very well by the critics, and that's all that matters.
This is true. This is true.
But yeah, so then we got this. Now we got this movie. And the
I'm
thing,
interested for the through line here. That was a whole lot
yeah,
of
yeah,
film
yeah.
history.
So for me, I think the reason why the 30s movies work so well and are so still loved to this day is because you're made to feel something for these characters. Like, you're so enamored with them that when the horrific things happened, you were made to feel something. And I think that's what this movie like does really well. I'll agree with you. Like, this is a fucking paint by numbers movie. There's no question about it. If you've watched the trailer, you pretty much know every plot beat this movie's gonna take.
And I'll be honest, I had trouble getting through the trailer. That's how bad this movie is. Even the trailer, I was like, yeah, I'm not really interested in this movie from this trailer. Okay, but anyway, keep going.
Yeah, but I think what they did really well is, even though you knew where the end destination was going to be, the journey that they took you on made it worthwhile, because it gives you something
Made it
that now
worthwhile? What?
wait
Did we watch
let's
the same fucking movie?
it gives you something that not many horror movies gives you nowadays, and that's the little quiet moments while you're sitting with these family, and you actually get to like soak in the tragedy that's actually occurring. Like,
I
you're
knew that
made
you were gonna like this just because of the fucking family aspect. You're like,
no
that's
no
the kind
because
of dad I would be.
no
Do you ask your
100%.
kids what am I thinking right now? What am I thinking?
No, they already know I'm thinking that. Come on, I don't need that help. But you're literally made to feel for Blake while he slowly loses himself. Ginger, who's watching the most constant thing in her life become unrecognizable to her, and then Charlotte, who was who dived so deep into her career that she was pretty much a stranger in the whole family
Oh my god! Oh my god!
dynamic.
Hold on.
Wait, I'm not done.
Okay.
Come to the realization that now that it's gone, that's all that's really made her really happy, and she was trying so hard to get it back and fight for it. But go ahead.
Okay, so what you just described is what they were trying to accomplish. So on the topic of Charlotte's character, which is played by Julia Garner.
Yeah.
It reminded me out of like a section of the movie The Room, like Tommy Wiseau. Like, walk in, I'm very busy, important person. Oh, I'm a journalist. That was it. Like, they're just like, look how busy this woman is. This is a working woman. Like, you get a scene in an apartment, and then they're in the truck, and Buddy asks, like, dude, what he's doing. He's like, oh, I'm in between jobs. And she's like, I'm a journalist. Like, that was it. That was it. And again, the lines are so bad. Like, they're such canned responses. Like, the dialogue in this movie is absolutely fucking atrocious. Also, the same Charlotte, the character, the amount of times where like just the most wild and crazy shit is happening. Like you said, her husband's like turning into a werewolf right in front of her. Nothing. Again, it's like The Room. Like you're like, beat her up pretty bad. Ha ha, funny story, Mark. Like, you're not gonna respond to that? Like, what? Like, she does not respond almost any. There's entire big ass like 45-second sections where she's just not saying anything about the stuff that's happening in front of her. Like, no screaming, no like, oh my God, like nothing, just like stone face. I know it's radio, so I can't really like do dead silence here. Like,
you got to be like, watch the YouTube.
Yes, like on it, just go watch the fucking honest trailers of The Room, and it's basically this film. Like, it's fucking, what an embarrassment. Like, to take, this is why sometimes I'm like, just call it something else. Call it like Scary Forest or something. Because when you say the Wolfman, it's like saying Dracula or something like that. You are purposely making an association. And then to come out and have just a fucking lazy script like this. Which, and again, maybe the actors aren't actually overacting. Maybe it's the direction in the script. But like, there's also times where Christopher Abbott's character, I'm like, he's acting like, I don't know how else to say this, so I'm just going to say it the way I'm going to say it. Like, he's like special needs or something like that. Like, it's like he's acting like he's got like lower mental, and I don't mean when he's transitioning. I mean, early in the fucking film, this guy is like over delivering his lines, his like mannerisms around it, like as he just like moves through the world. I'm like, who is directing this fucking guy? Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So what is the plot of the original and the 30?
1941, like The Wolfman with Lon Chaney Jr.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I just rewatched. It's solid. It's only an hour. It's great. It's an easy little watch. Man goes back to his, ancestral home after his brother dies.
Okay. Boom. So, all right. So you already got that in this movie.
Whoa. I'm not suggesting like the concept of the film, it wasn't fine. I'm saying that the script that they actually wrote, the execution of that said script, the acting and performances within that film are fucking dog shit. That's what I'm saying. I'm not suggesting that the story idea that they had doesn't mirror this. They just didn't create anything that falls in line with what they were trying to do. It's not an enjoyable fucking film at all. Like, there's nothing enjoyable.
Nothing enjoyable.
And it's so cheesy. There's so many. Okay, so in the trailer, you see the U-Haul go off the cliff or whatever, which even that seemed like a bit overdone, but fine, it's horror. They open the dude that's in the TAD, so the thing is on its fucking side. You, sitting in the truck, would know that because, gravity. Opens the door and then falls out. I'm like, what the fuck is going on right now? It's like the story beats, or like the way the plot moves forward is not because things are happening the way they should happen naturally, or characters acting the way a character acts, and that moves your story along. It's like, we need this guy to die by this monster, and he's upside down, so we're just going to make him fall out of a truck. We need them to try and do the thing where they like run to the car. So while they're leaving the house, we have no real reason. We're going to just make him run for them. She's super quiet, shutting the truck doors, only to then have to set up a battery and be like, like, come on. Like, I read somebody else's critique of this, like on Rotten Tomatoes or something like that, and it's not even the quote I'm going to use, But they also just pointed out, they're like, this was just lazy writing, like just lazy. And I do wonder if some of this has to do with the fact that it's written and directed by the director, which is
Lee Winhall, but he wasn't originally supposed to direct.
Doesn't matter if he was. We will get to that. He is the person who did it because he did Invisible Man. And let's be honest, he's Mr. Rich, fucking one of the original creators of the Saw franchise. He worked on Insidious. I don't know if he's one of the creators, but he definitely worked on.
I believe so. I think he even directed like the third one.
Yeah, he did Insidious 3. And then who are the two writing credits on this? Him and his wife, Corbett Tuck, sorry. Okay, maybe she's a writer. Maybe. No, first fucking writing credit. Does she have any background in writing? No. What even as an actor, what did she work on? Oh, surprising. Insidious chapter fucking 3.
Get the fuck out of here.
So there's two reasons you do this. One, your partner is a writer, and so you want to like work together and develop a script. The other is so you can take a chunk of the fucking development or pre-production budget and funnel both pieces of it into your fucking household. Like, there's no reason his wife should have a writing credit on this. And again, it's a fucking shitty fucking script. So
I was gonna say, hypothetically, what if his wife's the one that wrote it and he just you know,
got it made? Yeah, maybe. But he's the one at least that has writing credits to his history. Like
and that's why I got greenlit. Right?
Yeah. So you know what? Didn't we?
What was the one? What was the you made the same criticism about another movie recently?
No, Barbie.
No. What's the one with the oh my god, the girl from The Substance, and they're on the run.
And they're on the run?
Yeah. And it was
Drive-Away Dolls or Love Lies Bleeding? Drive-Away Dolls, yeah.
Drive-Away Dolls.
Yes.
Because wasn't that
Cohen
one
brings
of the
his partner in, yes. And that movie was fucking dog shit and all over the place. So anyway,
so what you're saying is I shouldn't bring you into anything.
Hey, I have writing credits. Go take a look at my IMDb. I have writing credits. So
that's why you don't take me into anything.
Listen, this thing has a 53% from the critics and a 57% from the audience. And I'd be surprised if that audience score doesn't go down. So did you take your kids to this or like?
I took my son. Yeah.
What did he think?
Son. He enjoyed it as well. He thought it was going to be more gorier because that is the thing that my wife was originally supposed to go, but when we went into when she checked the like Cineplex ratings or something, it said extremely gory scenes. So she was like, "Oh, this isn't for me."
Well, him eating his arm was pretty gory. I will give that. Like I said, I'll give.
And then he ate
gore.
his leg too,
but you see him bite through, like chewing on his thing. But like the camera sits there where he like is chewing into his forearm. So I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah.
Did you like the monster makeup?
Yeah, I thought that was super, super well done. And I enjoyed that you didn't have to really go, like everything wasn't like everything took its time, right? Like so you got to feel it kind of thing while everything's like cracking and splitting. Like
when he's on the floor there.
Yeah, and then when he had to like literally like pull his jaw, like literally pull it like down and you just hear the crack.
It kind of reminded me of sections of The Fly. Like the way when he's transitioning at the later stages into The Fly, where that type of stuff, where it's like arms are breaking back and everything else.
Yeah, and like I really enjoyed that like when the night vision kind of thing, like when he does that spoilers, full transformation, and then he looks,
I think
like
everybody knows he turns into a wolfman. So
and then he looks out into the skylight and everything's like bright colors and like it's like he can finally see kind of thing, and how his wife actually uses that against him, which was pretty decent. But yeah, like I enjoyed it, like because I thought with it being like it's just like a little claustrophobic film, right? Like, and it's Blumhouse, so you know you don't have a big budget, so it's going to be a small cast.
It had a $25 million budget. Okay, like it's not small. Like yes, we talk about budgets under the $60 million range and stuff, but this was not a $5 million film. Like, this is $25 million, and it to be one location essentially. I know there's the like Chicago, New York. Are they in New York or Chicago? I guess it doesn't matter. Big city.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't tiny. Like, remember with Blumhouse, we're talking like $1.5 million budget that makes $100 million. Like, this is not that. Just to point that out. And it's only an hour and 43 minutes, and it fucking felt like this movie just was not going to end for me. I was like, come on, be over. Please be over.
Now, so are you saying that Ryan Gosling is glad that he wasn't in this movie, or?
Well, he's still an executive producer, so.
Well, I think that was part of because he had to go out or something like that. I don't know. But what did you think of, because you're the cinematography guy, what did you think of the cinematography of this movie? Like, I love those fucking like landscape shots they did, like with the mountains and stuff.
Yeah, there was definitely some decent cinematography in it. Even just the house, like when you'd see the house kind of solitary all on its own or whatever. Again, there's some decent imagery, but the film itself, like as a movie, as tension, like there's just nothing going on in here. And I do wonder if that has to do some, like, again, I've already talked about like bad script, and I don't know if I would have used Wenhal myself, considering it was supposed to be the same director as Beyond the Pines and Blue Valentine. That was like who was originally supposed to be the director of this when Ryan Gosling. It's Derek Cineafrance. I can never say his last name properly. But he had worked with Ryan Gosling multiple times. He was supposed to be the original guy. He was the original person that actually signed on to this. He also did. He's the writer of the story writer of Sound of Metal. Like those are solid films that this guy's worked on that are like character driven. Because I do think one thing I will concede is that I think this film's the story, like you said, like the setup for the story could have been really good. Like the idea of like kind of not totally turning the werewolf story on its head, but you get rid of the like old European folklore, you go more with an indigenous folklore. It's more of like a virus, it's an infection. Like I think there's some stuff there. I just think that they should have just maybe even got like hired a writer. Like even if the director brought the story forward, be like, okay, cool. We're like, you're still Universal. You go find a good writer, go write this great little script, and then have him direct it. You know what I mean? Again, I don't know if, and I say this as a writer director, I don't know if always it's a good idea to be writing your own scripts, because if there's a better writer, would you rather direct a script that's good or yours?
Mine.
And I think that's always going to be the question, right?
And you're like, always mine, baby.
Because
mine are good.
I'm more than happy.
Mine are good.
I'm more than happy to have. I mean, I get my scripts reviewed by like other producers and creatives and trying to make them better and stuff like that too. Like I just rather make the best product possible. Yeah, like I said, if you want to, I'm not recommending this at all. I'm not even recommending watching it on streaming service. Nothing. Like I thought it was a bad movie.
Like I do. I think this is a strong spiritual successor of the original.
Did you see the one done by Antonio Banderas?
Yeah, man, that was, come on.
Is it? I have never seen it. Is it that bad or?
Yeah.
Oh, it's like even to this day, like you're just like, no. It's not one of those things to go revisit.
No.
It won the Oscar though for hair and makeup, so they must have got that right.
Or there wasn't very many good ones that year for hair. Yeah, it was like 100%. Like you're like, oh, we're gonna do this third act twist that really means nothing, right?
He's
like,
not a werewolf; he's a werecat. So I haven't rewatched it, so if this doesn't apply anymore, feel free to push back. But American Werewolf in London, the times I've seen it, I remember it being a pretty good movie.
Oh yeah, that I think that holds up as one of the best in terms of werewolf movies. I would say the original Howling as well is like fucking
well, and
good.
We also know you like Silver Bullet.
Oh, who doesn't fucking like Silver Bullet?
All-star cast, baby. All-star cast. I know that we just briefly touched on Lon Chaney's 1941 film. Sorry, Lon Chaney Jr. playing the Wolfman. I have been listening to this old-timey style podcast called The Secret History of Hollywood, and they're going through the list of like Val Lewton films. So he did like Cat People and a bunch of other like classic films. And they talk about how the Wolfman and Dracula and stuff like those Universal monsters were actually by like serious filmmakers were considered like fluff pieces. And it kind of lends itself to the conversation we're having about Hollywood right now, where it's like, oh, they're just making like IP. It's like studios have always just tried to make as much money as possible. And so Val Lewton's over at RKO and they're like, oh, can't we just do like monster mashup movies to like the way Universal's doing? So I just thought it was funny that like the more we change, the more we end up just doing the same thing. But definitely check out The Secret History of Hollywood. It's a great podcast, and it's done not like this, but it's done more in the radio show style of the olden days, where the show feels like it's acted out a bit. So yeah, I just thought wanted to throw that out there.
I think I listened to that like years ago.
Yeah, it's good.
During COVID. Yeah. Because there's one just on the Universal one too. A podcast. It was by Alan Horn,
Oh, okay.
I think, off the top of my head.
Anyway, do you have anything else you want to say about this movie before we let our good audience go?
No, I'm done. Just make sure.
I
Comment
did have a
below.
question. Actually, no, hold on. I do have a question for you before we get out of here. Do you think that I know you enjoyed this movie, but one of the things I noticed is there's no real B storyline. So yes, you're doing a claustrophobic film, but that means that like because you're with like the main characters the entire time, all together, essentially all the time. There's no reprieve or break, or there's no pressure taken off. So that story has to be really good and dynamic, where often it's like the monster's at the door. Oh, and then you cut to somebody else in a different room. You know what I mean? Do you think that having another B storyline might have been beneficial?
Well, I think, in my opinion, I think the B storyline is there, but it's more subvert because there's the original one. Like, who was the original one at the beginning of the movie?
Yeah.
Who's the one that turned his dad? Oh, sorry, spoilers.
Spoiler.
And my guess is, this movie needed more Derek. I was hoping for more Derek because those awkward exchanges in the truck were awesome. You guys don't look strong. Look at your hands. That's good. But like, who, at what point, like, are you done hunting these faces of the wolf people, right? Because those just
if they keep turning people.
Well, that's the thing. Like, my guess is there's probably, I don't know if they're a pack or individuals or whatever, like, but they're out there. Kind of thing. So like, I think with this, like, you can do a prequel, you can do a sequel, you can even do one that's running concurrently.
Well, considering it's doing so poorly at the box office, I don't think any of those things are going to come true. But on that topic of Derek, so this is a perfect example of how you could have done a bit of a B storyline. So as they're driving the U-Haul up, again, you see all this in the trailer, driving the U-Haul up to the family farm or whatever, they see him in the tree stand. But what they could have done is then cut to his POV in the tree stand. And so you don't know, is it the monster? Is it this? Is it that? Like, you know what I mean? It's like and then you could also use the monster later on. You could just keep going back and forth between the POV inside the house with the family and the POV of like whether it's Derek or the other monster or whatever. Just because then you're like, oh, wait, what's going on? Like, oh my God, are they going to get him? Like, you can build some tension that way. Anyway, the other thing too is that opening. I know they're trying to give you a bit of like the backstory right at the beginning. But again, I think that like I'm talking about like the father-son stuff at like the early years. I almost think that if you had taken, I feel like this film should have just opened with them driving the U-Haul. And then you could cut non-linear in sections, like, them, the wife thinking about like the conversation they had back in the apartment in New York, or when the husband can flash back when he goes into the house and he remembers like being there with his dad and his dad's making him make the bed all military style, which made no sense to me. But you know what I mean? Like, take the same film and maybe even just through editing, you can create some better tension. Okay.
Well, I don't know what you want me to say. Like, You can do it. You can be like Universal. Give me it. I'll edit this. Yeah,
We
like,
know they listen. We know they listen.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Before we get out of here, like you said, you were going to say something because I do have a quote I want to finish with.
I don't remember. You cut me off, and
Okay.
that's usually what happens. That's why I let you go first, because I'm like, this is going to be a really big Chris Babel episode.
I win. Anyway, so I will leave you with Seth Katz from Slant Magazine. Wolfman neither embraces the fundamentals of werewolf folklore from which it draws, nor convincingly reinvents them.
And that is our wrap for the day. Please like and subscribe to this podcast. Tell your friends. If you want to get a hold of us, reach us at the www.howdyoulikethatmovie.com. Yeah, I was gonna say there is one werewolf movie that he forgot to mention in terms of how good it was. Jack Nicholson's Wolf.
I haven't seen it. I actually haven't seen it. Is it
What?
good?
Oh, that's so fucking good.
I can see
good.
him being a good. Is he a werewolf?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and they do the same thing. Like it's kind of like the same as the original and this one, where they brought more like it was more like Native American. Like there was like a little necklace he could wear to help, fight the wolf, face of the wolf and shit like that. But yeah, it was pretty good. But it was more like he had animalistic territories or traits where so like at one point he just whips his dick out and starts pissing and he's like, I'm marking my territory.
Sounds very Jack. Was that the character or was that just Jack Nicholson?
Oh, it was probably both. He was like, fuck it, I don't
This
have
is
time
how
to cut this.
Jack pisses. Maybe you know what? Maybe I'll do a TikTok on like werewolf movies you should watch instead of this one. Production by Rod Shaver, Vader Monkey Productions.